I love a good farmhouse sink and some exposed brick as much as anyone, but this is your first house. It's the biggest investment of your life. What should you really look for in a home? Stick around until the end and you'll learn the top industry tips. One of the most important things to look for in a home, besides of course the lifestyle that you're looking to live, is resale value. One of the biggest factors of resale value is location. So of course nobody can predict the future and neighborhoods can always change. But in general, where do you see this neighborhood going in the next 5 to 7 years? Do home values seem to be rising? Do a lot of people want to move into the neighborhood? When you're ready to sell in 5 to 7 years, which is the average, do you think the property values will increase even more? Do you think they'll stay the same, or do you think there's a chance that they will decrease? Think about this before you considering moving into a neighborhood. The next factor of resale value is the size and space. You need to think about whether this size of the home and the layout of the space will be good for resale value. Is there a market for that size home and the way that it's laid out? So depending on the lot size, you can never change the lot size. If you have a home on a bigger lot with maybe a smaller home, maybe you can add an addition, but that's pretty costly to do. So in general, you can never really change the size, and the layout of the room is really hard to change without costly renovations. Think again, in 5 to 7 years, when buyers walk through this house, is it going to be a size and a space that's going to work for a lot of people, or you're going to have trouble selling it? Okay, so we've thought about resale value. Now we need to look at the maintenance costs. And of course, you're going to have an inspection, but here are just some initial things for you to start thinking about and looking for and asking the sellers about. Number one, you want to ask about the age of the roof, find out what type of roof it is, find out how often those types of roofs need to be replaced, and think about the cost of replacing that roof. And normally you can find this information on the seller's property disclosure. So let's say the sellers have lived in the home for 10 years and you know that they have a rubber roof which also lasts 10 years, but the sellers don't know how old the roof is. There's a good chance that that roof is going to need to be replaced, which is around $2,000 to $3,000. If you're looking at a home that has a roof that you can see, maybe there's shingles and it's sloped, look for any dark spots or irregularities with the shingles. Number two, if the home has a basement, of course, you want to look at how it smells, see if there's any dampness or any signs of mold. If the sellers are living there, you of course want to see how they're storing the stuff. Does there seem to be a lot of stuff on the ground? Do they have carpet in the basement? That's a really good sign because it means that it tends to stay dry. Whereas everything kind of like up on posts or cinder blocks, that might be a sign that the basement gets wet when it rains. And look, most basements will get some sort of water, but it is a matter of how much water there is, what happens when the water comes in, and how it's all being managed. Which leads me to our next point. If you're buying a home that has a yard, you want to step outside and look at what is happening with the rainwater in the yard. So if you're looking at a home that has a yard that's sloped towards the house, that means when it rains, the water is going to go right towards the house and into the basement. You want to make sure that the ground is at least sloped away from the home so that you're not having more water issues in the basement. And while you're looking at the grounds, you want to look for problem trees. So if there are trees close to the house, they could get in the foundation or in the pipe. So pay attention to that. And also if there are dying trees, then you're going to have to cut the trees down, which can get really expensive. And on that note, check out the exterior of the home, especially if the home is made of stucco, which is just kind of like that flat exterior. Sometimes it's white or a different color and it looks a little bit like sandpaper. Water can get underneath that stucco and rot the wood underneath, which gets really, really expensive. So you want to make sure that you look for dark spots and water spots. A lot of times they're under the windows, and you will definitely want to have a stucco inspection if you do go under contract, but just taking the time to look at for some problem areas will save you a lot of time down the road. So depending on where you live and the type of home that's popular in your area, there may be other big ticket items that you want to make sure that you're looking out for. So you need to make sure that you're working with an experienced agent in your area, because they have probably been to a lot of home inspections and they know what the major issues tend to be for the types of home that you're looking for. So if you're buying your first home in the next year, sign up for the Home Buyer Workshop. I'll link it below. We'll teach you everything you need to know about buying your first home from the very beginning of the process to the end, and we'll give you all the tips and tricks. So we'll see you there.